no, not again. Another red light? This can't be happening. Red means stop, so I guess I should stop it right away. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In the last video we talked about the battery light. In this one we'll be talking about the engine oil pressure light. Engine oil, as we all know, is very important for the normal operation of an engine. It performs two functions: lubricating the various moving engine parts and also transferring heat so that various parts do not overheat. So like I said in the previous video, it's very necessary to know what the various lights and dials on the instrument cluster mean so that the vehicle can be safely operated and the occupants are not put in unnecessary danger. So in this picture, we can clearly see a problem right there. We have a red light on the left side of the cluster. That's the engine oil pressure light on while the engine is running. That indicates a very significant issue going on with the vehicle. So as you can see, the light is red, and red means stop. So obviously, if one is traveling along the highway and suddenly this light pops up, my strong advice is to pull over immediately and shut off the engine so as to prevent damage to the engine. So how do engines get lubricated with engine oil? Most consumer cars have a wet sump system, implying that there is a sump underneath the engine that holds a certain volume of oil, and then there's also an oil pump and a pickup tube whereby once the engine gets started, the oil pump takes engine oil from the lower sump and sends it to various necessary parts of the engine. So because of this, there are some parts on the engine that if they fail, serious damage can occur and the oil pressure light could also be triggered. Here's the oil filler cap. It's usually located on top of the engine. That is where engine oil gets fed into the engine, and we have engine oil written on it. At times, you also have the specific or specified weight of the engine oil recommended by the manufacturer written on the cap. In this case, we don't have that written on this cap, so that information can be found in the owner's manual. Here I have the owner's manual open. So as written on the engine, this is a 7AFE engine, and this manual is still in French. So to the right, we can see the various oil viscosities and corresponding ambient temperatures. So the ranges would determine the oil weights to be used where the vehicle will be operated. So because I don't have temperatures going below -7 degrees Celsius, even though at times temperatures will get higher than 38 degrees Celsius, it's recommended for me to use the three weights to the right. That's 20W50 or 15W40 or 10W30. Concerning the quantities to be used, for the 7AFE engine with an oil filter, I would require about 3.7 liters. Without an oil filter, I'll require just 3.5 liters. The engine oil filter on this engine is located just below the exhaust manifold. Like I'm showing here, it's easily accessible. I'm pointing at it right now. It's necessary to prevent particles from within the engine from making their way around the engine to delicate parts and cause more damage. Next, here's the engine oil sump. That's the drain plug right there. If one is to have an oil change, you take off that bolt so that gravity does its work and allow all the engine to drain out from the bottom. It's very necessary to ensure that after an oil change, the oil drain plug gets tightened properly with the appropriate gaskets so that we don't have leaks. It must be tightened properly to the manufacturer's torque so that the bolt doesn't come off while the vehicle is in motion and cause severe engine failure. So on this car, the oil pressure light is directly connected to a sensor on the engine. It's basically an on-off switch. Once the required pressure is attained within the engine, it pushes on a diaphragm that acts like an on-off switch and shuts the light off. When that pressure hasn't been reached, the light stays on. The light could also come on if the switch or sensor is faulty. In most cases, the oil pressure light would come on as a result of loss of oil within the engine. Obviously, when the level of engine on the engine gets too low, the pressure would also become too low. So if a vehicle engine burns oil excessively and the vehicle owner doesn't top it off as required or as necessary, the engine could run too low and then the oil pressure light could be turned on and then the engine could get severely damaged. Another avenue for the engine to lose oil can be if the car bottoms out on a large object while driving down the highway or road without the driver being cognizant of that fact, the engine could lose too much oil quickly. And then by the time the oil pressure light comes on the dash, it could be too late or a matter of just seconds before the engine gets irreversibly damaged. Here we have a picture of the drain bolt and the necessary washer. Also, here we have the two types of oil filters. The one to the left is the canister type and the one to the right is the cartridge type. So to summarize, the oil pressure light, very important. It's a red light. Once you see it on while the engine is running, whether you're driving down the highway or you're about to take off from your house, if it stays on for more than 5 seconds, if the engine has just been started, my advice is to shut it down immediately. Also, to prevent this from ever happening, ensure you have your oil changed at the recommended manufacturer intervals. Both the engine oil and the oil filter. Make sure you use high quality components. Don't compromise. Engines are expensive. Engine oil is usually cheap. Pay attention while driving, especially red lights. Pull over immediately, shut down the engine so as to prevent damage. An excessively worn engine will also throw that engine oil light. So if you're going to buy a car and you see that light staying on, that could be a sign that the engine is totally worn out. Well, I hope I've been able to help you out with more information about the engine oil pressure light. Happy motoring, everyone. Remember to subscribe, share the video, and leave a thumbs up. In the next video, we'll be taking on another red light. You don't want to miss it. Have a nice day, everyone. Stay safe out there. Bye for now.